Hello everyone, this is Tiago. I'm a creative technologist and designer based in New York, and today I'm gonna show you how to make this very cool effect using PointClouds, instancing, and FBX. So let's get started. So I went out to the street and captured images of machines, and I made sure to get one image per view of each machine. Um, so yeah, here it's an example of that. I went on and created a new file in an A4 horizontal and started trimming the images one by one. This doesn't have to be perfect, um, but we had to get all of the views cropped out and placed inside the big file. I did some corrections, basic corrections, and once I was done, I exported um, as PNG and went into Blender and added that as an image reference by clicking on Add Image and Reference. Once the image was inside Blender, you can see that it was placed over the axis I was looking at. I can move around. Let's scale this up a little bit. I added a cube and tried to match it to the shape of the image I just took, and went into edit mode and started modeling it. Again, this can be very rough because the image textures after are going to do the job. So yeah, let's skip forward this, but it's basically modeling it. So then what we have to do is map the textures, right? And to do that, what we're gonna do is click on the gumball on the Y axis first, and we're gonna select all the faces that are facing that side and project from view. Then we're gonna go into UV editing. We're gonna go up here and change to the image that we just imported. Let's first of all also create the material. So we go to base color, change that into image texture, and again select the image we just imported. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's working. So we can go back into UV editing now, and what we're going to do is match that shape with the shape of the view we have, and we're going to do that for all the sides individually. Once we're done with that, we're going to have like this very nice looking 3D model of the machine, and we're going to export that as an FBX. It's very important that we have this option selected and we apply the transform and export. Okay, so now we're gonna move to this little software called Cloud Compare that I'm gonna leave the link in the description, and we're gonna import our machine, the FBX model we just exported from Blender. We're gonna click into this option. We're gonna make sure this is the number we see, that is the amount of points we're gonna have, and we create. Then we're gonna go and delete the base mesh we added, and we're gonna be left with the point cloud. We're gonna click on it, and then we're gonna go here to save it. We can call this machine 50, let's say. It's very important that we select this option so that the file gets saved as a .txt file. We can also add here and save. I already have it saved. I'm gonna just replace the one I have. This is gonna pop up. It's important that you have this first option selected, and there's this little toggle at the bottom that we should also select it, so that the values of the color are from 0 to 1. Very important. Then we're gonna move into TouchDesginer. We're gonna add an operator. We're gonna go to tops. We're gonna select point file in. Once we have that point file in, we're gonna add one select point file select. Yeah. and we're gonna grab the top and drag it into the other one. This way we're gonna have like 2 copies of this point cloud. We add our point cloud, the txt file, and we get this error, right? The reason for this error is because the txt file we have doesn't have any headers, right? So it doesn't know which values correspond to which parameter, R, G, B, or alpha. So we're gonna select them manually. Here we got the geometry values, and here we have the color values. Once we have those 2 things in, we're gonna add a null at the end of both of them. This way we're gonna be able to see the output. The first one is gonna be the position output, and the second one is gonna be the color output. We have to make sure we use 32 bits RGBA. So let's select that. Yeah, we're good. So now we're gonna go and add a sphere. This sphere does not need to have a lot of detail, so we can just lower these 2 values over here, so we get like this low poly shape, so that this is more optimized. We add a geometry. Now that we have the geometry, we're gonna go into instance, and we are gonna turn this toggle on. So now we're gonna use the values that are being generated by this point cloud in the instancing of the position. This is gonna be the geometry. And this one under is gonna be the color, as we mentioned before. So we're gonna drag and drop this top into the default instancing OP and select the RGB channels for the translate. That way we can see now that we already have the shape of the machine inside TouchDesginer. So that's great. What we're gonna do now is we're gonna go to instancing 2. And what we're gonna do is gonna do something similar to what we just did, but with color. So we're gonna drag and drop the second top into the color and select R, G, and B. So awesome, now we have both the geometry and the colors mapped. That's great. Now what we're gonna do is select all the files, all the tops that correspond to the point cloud, and duplicate. And we're gonna go into the point file in, and we're gonna name these 2 for a second: point cloud A and point cloud B. These are gonna be 2 separate independent point clouds. So we're gonna go and change the file of the second one to just another point cloud I generated another time, but using the same procedure. We're gonna grab what we call the geometry point file and add a switch and connect each geometry point cloud from each file together into that switch. And we're gonna do the same with the color. We're gonna turn on this toggle that's gonna allow us to blend between the values. Basically it's like lowering the opacity of one and increasing the one of the other. Not that much, but something similar to that. So yeah, once we have that done, what we're going to do is, we're gonna go back into our geometry. We're gonna add a null first after each of these switches, and we're gonna use those nulls to replace the ones we had before, right? So we're gonna go first into the instance one, and we're gonna use the first one as the translate top. And we're gonna use what we have to make sure we have RGB there. That is fine. And we're gonna do the same with the other node, and that should already be working. So now we need a way to turn from one value to another in that switch, right? So what we're gonna do is add a slider. We're then gonna add a null to see the value of the slider and be able to use it as a chop. So we click here and drag and drop the value into the index of the switch. Let's do this for the first switch, and we have to do the same for the second switch. Awesome. Now we have that in place, and when we move this slider, what we're going to notice here in the geometry node is that we are blending between both objects. That's sort of the core effect that this tutorial is aiming to achieve. Okay, awesome. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna do a basic render setup. So we're gonna add a light, we're gonna add a camera. Let's click here and click H so that it centers the object, and in the light we're gonna do the same. We're gonna just move around a little to adjust the light, also to adjust the camera. We're gonna add a render top so that we can see the output, and there we go. There we have it. Let's adjust the camera a little bit more so that we get this centered and fully in the image. There we go. Just maybe slightly up. Okay, that works. Let's increase the light by going here and putting 2. There we get some more light. And what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go into image filters in the palette. We're gonna go down here and we're gonna drag and drop the feedback into here and connect the render top into there. We're gonna go inside by double clicking into the feedback base, and let's push these 2 things up. And what we're gonna do now is add we're gonna add a transform, and we're gonna scale up by 1.1, creating this like tunnel effect based on the feedback loop. This is already starting to look pretty interesting, right? So what we're gonna do now is first add a background. So we're gonna add an RGB key. This is gonna give it a black background. Let's see how that looks. Awesome. Now we're gonna go back into let's test this first. Let's see if it was working fine. Okay, that works. So let's go back into the geometry, and we are gonna write in the rotate a little Python script expression. We're gonna write ABS time dot seconds, and we're gonna multiply that value by, let's say, 10, so it's a little bit faster. This is basically taking the time and we are using the time for the rotation. So we're gonna put that in all axes, and we're starting to get this very cool effect with the object rotating. And that's mainly it. Here we have our own tunnel effect based on point clouds. Thank you for watching.